Hey everyone, Lisa Valentine here, and today I'm doing a video where I'm going to show you how to take a page layout and pop it onto a canvas. It's not going to be anything too outrageous, too artsy. You don't have to be Picasso, and I don't want to hear anybody out there saying, I can't do that. Yes, you can. For those of you who have taken the jump and actually given mixed media a try, every single one of you has said afterwards, gosh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and I love the outcome. So I'm challenging you right now to go find yourself a canvas. This one's 12 by 12. I bought it at Michael's, nothing special. It does have gesso on it, so it's already been sealed for us. But I'm challenging you right now. Go grab yourself one and watch this video a few times and then show me what you do. I just want you to go and have fun, and you're going to see this through my entire creative process. And yeah, so let's have fun, okay? Okay, so the first thing I do when I start popping stuff together here is I ran and got this canvas that we got a few months ago in our tech kit that I haven't quite been able to mess with because I really love how this looks. And I thought I would put my page layout on top of it, and then it struck me. I'm actually going to use this on my wall, and I'm going to hang it as is, maybe. And I'm going to hang it on the wall next to this one. Because our papers have burlap, it blends perfectly. I'm hoping it's going to look like I bought them together. But the first thing I need to do is, I'm really not looking to take my canvas and cover all the edges in paper. I just don't want to do that. So from another tech kit that we've gotten in the past, or no, not a tech kit, I'm sorry, one of the Prima classes from CHA, was it last summer, I think? We got this chalkboard paint from Tattered Angels, and it's called Decadence. And if you can see the bottom of that right there, it actually looks really good with the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to mist all the edges of my canvas. I don't care if there's going to be overspray, but I'm going to mist all of my edges and come back to you. Okay, so I went ahead and misted my canvas here. Now, one thing you should know about canvases that have already been primed with gesso, the surface is not as absorbent as if you were just working on regular canvas. So when you mist, what happens is the mist wants to pool up in places, and I didn't want it to. So I let it sit there for a quick second, and then I took a paper towel and just blotted the edges so that it didn't look blotted, didn't look speckled and pooled up. And then the other thing is that there was overspray on the top, and I really don't care what the top looks like. You're not going to see it all. So I just brushed with my paper towel over the top of it here, and you can see that it left these very cool streaks. But I went ahead and did that, and I figured, the other thing is that if I want this to be darker down the road, I can go ahead and ink it, so that's not going to be a problem. All right, so I took two of the papers from our March kit, French Quarter, and the first thing I did was I used the French Floral, I think is the name of it, French Kiss Floral. And you can see that on the back side, it's got that pretty rose pattern, and then on this side, it's all canvas. And I cut this so that it was 11.5 inches square, because my canvas is 12 by 12. So I really just kind of want a little bit of my canvas peeking out. And then I went and took the French Kiss labels. That's the page that's got all the labels on it, and the dark kind of grayish blue on the back. And I cut this to be 11 inches square. So I'm just basically laying down a couple of layers here to create a nice frame. And moving on. Okay, for the next step, we are going to adhere our burlap paper to our canvas. And for me, I like to use Mod Podge. Some people like to use glossy accents. Some people like to use hot glue. I say, whatever floats your boat, but just remember, this is going to be hanging on your wall. So you really want something that's going to stick. You don't want stuff falling off your wall. The other thing I have is a brush that I got at Michael's, and I think that puppy was like $1. It's really a throwaway brush. You can wash them and save them, and I do, but they don't last for very many uses. And sometimes the little hairs will come out, and you know, if you want texture, great. If not, you have to pick it out. I've also gotten a plastic bag, nothing special. And the reason for that is that, you know, while I'm in the process of working on a canvas, I may want to use Mod Podge again later, and I don't want to have to wash out my brush after every use. So I just pop it into a bag here, and then I roll it up and stick it on the side of my desk and save it for later. And then this way it stays nice and wet and pliable. Yummy. All right. One thing you should know, Mod Podge will affect your canvas. So for instance, if you weren't putting paper on this and you really wanted to keep this kind of flowy effect, you're going to have to do that with your brush, because it will change the texture. It'll smush everything around, kind of like Distress ink with water. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I really want my edges adhered down. So I'm just going to go ahead, set my canvas aside here. And I'm just going to go over the back side of my paper. Hopefully you can see this. And I'm just going to put down a decent, not gobs of it, but I'm going to put down just a nice even layer. And center it up. Now, if you have a brayer, this would be a great time to use it, and I'm going to go grab it. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. Just go ahead and roll over the edges. Now remember, this canvas, you can see the back side, so when you go to rub in the middle, you're not going to have anything pressing back. So I like to put my hand underneath. If you don't have a brayer, you could use a ruler. Where's my ruler? Anyway, you could use a bone folder. You could use a piece of cardboard as long as it has a stiff edge to it. Okay? So you don't have to have any fancy tools. Go around your edges and make sure that they're sealed. Okay? And another way to make sure that they're sealed is go over it with a bit of Mod Podge. So I'm just going to grab my pen. And here's where you're going to see my misting on the edges could begin to change shape. Get all kind of blended. Okay. Another thing you can do when you put down Mod Podge is you can go ahead and use a heat gun to heat it up. But what you do need to know is, like most things that get superheated, it'll bubble. And I'm not looking for a bubble. What I'm really looking to do is just to take the top edge, the top layer of it, and I just want it to not be tacky to the touch. That doesn't mean that it's fully dried though. So if you put on Mod Podge somewhat thickly, is that a word? Well, it is in Swirlydoos. If you put it on a bit thick and you're able to touch the top without it sticking to your finger, chances are it's not hardened below. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to grab my heat gun. There's a couple of little spots here that are bubbling up, and what I'm going to do is grab some glossy accents and stick those puppies down. If you've never used glossy accents as something to glue things down with, you really should. This is like Crafter's super glue, but you don't have to worry about your fingers sticking together. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze a little bit under here. If I can get under there. Sorry. Okay. And I'm just going to... Alrighty. I may find more of these little bubbles popping up as I go along, little edges. I want all of my edges down really good. Another thing about Mod Podge, if you've never worked with it before, is that once it dries, everything below it will no longer be affected by anything you put on top of it. So if you're looking to preserve a layer, Mod Podge is the way to go. Just pop it down there, and then you can add layer upon layer, so you get that somewhat translucent effect. And you're wondering, how is it people get all those layers? Well, that's one of the ways that it could be done. All right, so I've gone ahead and done that. The next thing that I want to do is I want to take this, and I want to distress up the edges, kind of rip them a little bit, and you'll know that the back side of this is this color. I'm okay with it, but I don't really want a lot of that popping up on the top of my page. So when I go to, deep distress and rip and tear, I may find a couple of different ways besides ink to get my desired effect. So, yeah, here we go.